Hi, my name is Victoria Mendoza and I am a certified lactation educator, but I'm also a low milk supply mom. And if you are struggling to make enough milk to exclusively breastfeed and you are wanting to try to increase your supply, then these are the ABCs that you need to know. Stick around for the end of the video for a bonus letter. Right, first we have A, advocate. Okay, you have to advocate for your health. This is not necessarily applicable to everybody with a low milk supply, but we want to rule this out really early on. And so going to a medical professional, your doctor, or even to a lactation consultant who can help you start this process is really important. You want to make sure that you are able to advocate to them that I am struggling, I'm doing all the things right, and I'm still not making enough milk. Can you help me? Because unfortunately, most of the medical professionals, like a doctor or a nurse practitioner, have not received any lactation training in their schooling that they went to get their degree. So that can be really frustrating when they don't really actually have the knowledge to help you. So that is where a lactation consultant or somebody in the lactation industry can help you, but also keep in mind that not everybody is also taught about low milk supply when they are going through their training as well. I worked with one lactation consultant. She told me, she's like, I have been in this industry for 20 years and I have never heard a story like yours. That is not a good sign, okay? You do not want to go to somebody who's not going to actually be able to help you get the results that you are looking for, or at least figure out what is going on so that way you know how to best move forward and address them from there. So advocate for yourself. Keep going to a different doctor, second opinion, or whoever it is that you decide to seek assistance with. And just keep asking and saying, no, something's not right. I need help, until you can find somebody who is able to do so. And more power to the doctors who say, you know what, this is not my degree, this is not my specialty, this is not my area, but let me send you to somebody who can. Okay, that is who I hope you can at least interact with if they can't help you, and hopefully they can put you in a position with somebody who can. B, blood work. Blood work is key because, like I said, there's a lot of different things that can go into a low milk supply, but one is nutrient deficiencies and hormone imbalances. So you really want to rule things out, such as PCOS, insulin resistance, and or diabetes, and then also thyroid disorders. Those are just some of the top things that can lead to a low milk supply. However, that's not an exclusive and exhaustive list. But I do want to just stress that any type of hormone imbalance can have an effect on lactation, because breastfeeding is purely, milk production specifically, is purely driven by hormones. So if your hormones are off, they kind of have a chain reaction to one another when something is not working as it's supposed to. And so it can in turn affect how your body is making milk. Okay. Next, I want to also address that blood work it can be tricky, because blood work, we see that there are normal ranges, and normal is great, but normal tests for a disease state, not when something is starting to already go in that direction, but it's not quite there yet. So what we want to also address is optimal ranges. Optimal ranges are really important, but not everybody knows how to look for optimal ranges. Not everyone's trained on optimal ranges. So this is where I say you really need to look at possibly working with an integrative or functional doctor, even a holistic doctor who has that training and that education within optimal blood work ranges would be fine. But it's unfortunately not the traditional classic way of doing a blood draw. There is people who will just say, well, it's within normal range, and like, what's normal anyway? How are those defined? Well, those are defined by people who aren't considered quote unquote sick. But like I said, that doesn't take into account for the people who might be headed in that direction. And so this is something that's really, really important if you want to really pinpoint what is at hand here. So there is that. And then I also wanted to just mention that not all doctors are always on board or willing to run all the labs that I recommend. You can get the list of labs that I suggest at the link below in this video. And there will be a post that will take you to my website, and there will be the list of all of the blood work you should request. But unfortunately, since not all doctors are familiar with low milk supply, or even lactation for that matter, you will sometimes have them kind of fighting you on whether or not you need to run all these labs. Now, it could be because they don't think it's justified. It could be for insurance purposes. It could be a variety of things, but if you list out the things, like I said, PCOS, thyroid disorders, diabetes and insulin resistance, anything like that, and then also throw in there, keep in mind, I'm postpartum. A lot of hormones shift when you're postpartum, so if you tell them, I'm postpartum, can we just double check? Even if I've never had a history of this before, something may have changed. And you may be able to get your doctor to justify it with your insurance. And then, of course, there's always the option of paying out of pocket, but I always say, see what you can get covered first, and then if you are still wanting to get the rest tested, that might be something that you look into if your doctor isn't willing to run all of the labs. So going to somebody who really knows how to submit that off to your insurance and code it where it is true and it's accurate, but it's also, comprehensive and will test for everything that you need would be ideal. We'll move on to letter C, cause, specifically the root cause. You need to know the cause that is behind your low milk supply in order to try and resolve it, right? Low milk supply doesn't just happen. Anytime the body has a biological function and it's not operating the way it's supposed to, there's always a reason behind it. Now, whether we can fix it or not, that varies, right? That can be something within our control, or it might be something more complicated than that. Nonetheless, there's a root cause behind it. And so now it's a matter of figuring out what it is and what can you do about it. So for the root cause, I just want to address that there are two main topics, main categories that this can fall under. So there are primary causes and secondary causes. So primary issues are things that are happening within you, within your body. Primary can include those hormone imbalances and those nutrient deficiencies and things of that nature, but it can also include, some type of structural issue with your breast. It can include something where there was some type of trauma inflicted upon, your glandular tissue at some point, and therefore it affects your supply. So primary is within you. Secondary is a little bit more broad. It's anything outside of you that could be affecting your milk supply. That includes your baby, right? Your baby's latch, if they have a tongue tie or some type of oral tie, that could affect your ability to produce enough milk. It could also be coming down to, their palate and their jaw. It can come down to how something went in your pregnancy or in your labor that could have affected your ability to make milk or make a full supply at least. And then there's also things, that even certain foods that you're putting in your body could have an effect on your supply. So there's a large range of things that can be to hand here, and also there can be more than one, right? So it can be kind of like stacking, and that is where we would definitely want to kind of rule and eliminate things out, so that way we can figure out what the problem is, and then from there tackle those things instead of trying to tackle all the things, because you only have so much time to try and increase your supply before your milk will regulate. And that happens between 6 to 12 weeks. Not impossible to increase your milk after that point, but it gets harder. And so because of that, we want to use our time wisely, so that way we get the most bang for our buck. You know what I mean? If you want more information on low milk supply, make sure you subscribe, like this video if you found it helpful, and make sure to comment below what you realize that you need to look into next. Now for the bonus letter D, I want you to do something about it, okay? This isn't going to resolve on its own. This isn't going to just get better if you have been doing all the right milk management, techniques, and that would include removing milk often enough, going through and making sure baby's latch is good, doing all the basics, the breastfeeding basics that should be done anyway. If that's all good, there's a reason that you are struggling with your supply, and I really encourage you to seek it out, because it's actually a red flag. It's a warning sign that there's something else going on, and it's either with you or maybe with your baby, and this is something that neither one of you should be struggling with. So I really encourage you to push forward and get the help that you need.